Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rise of Justice Movement, the podcast. My name is Zachary Mallory, and I am the founder and the host of the Rise of Justice Movement and the Rise of Justice Movement, the podcast. All right, so this is going to be a really good one. There's going to be a lot of laughs. There's going to be a lot of different conversation going on here. Um, this is now the second interview that my new co-organizer slash badass human being, Sarah. Welcome to the podcast. Again, this is going to be the second time that you've co-hosted with me, and there'll be many more. We have a new show that's coming where we focus on justice related topics. More information on that later on. But Sarah DeArmond, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you for the introduction. I am very happy to be here, and I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So our candidate for today is Mark Davis. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Again, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's kickstart this by just giving a background on who you are and why you're running for Congress in a time that it feels like we really need those progressive voices. I
Hmm.
I know the word progressive gets thrown around literally nonstop, but the true progressive, the bold leadership is what we desperately need in a
Yeah.
time where people have lost faith in the process. So just give the background on who you are and why you're running for office. And then Sarah, you'll take it away from here.
Yeah. I like to introduce myself as, I'm not a politician. If you follow me online or if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram or Threads, you can quickly see that I don't speak like a politician and I don't act like a politician. I just speak my mind, and I wouldn't be doing this, any other way. I wouldn't be doing it with a script. And I've hired and fired many advisors over the time, and because we don't see eye to eye on things, but I have a vision on how I want this campaign to move, and we're seeing that through. But just about how I got here, I was raised in Kokomo, Indiana, which is like relatively a conservative area in Indiana, and always raised kind of semi conservative, red, whatever. But I never kind of saw eye to eye with my parents on conservatism. There's a few things that happened in my life that took me more towards a progressive nature, and one of them was I had a girlfriend that was Thai. She was from Thailand, and she was adopted. And she died when she was 18 because she got measles when she was younger in Thailand because they didn't have access to vaccines, and it came back and killed her when she was 18. So that's one of the reasons that I started, I think started leaning away. And plus, she wasn't white; she was a different color. I think that kind of opened my eyes too. And then
Mhm.
the big thing I think was religion was what the big thing was that I kind of started separating from my parents' more rigid or conservative views, was that I could never take religion all the way to exception, like where everybody's included or where everybody's not included unless you believe that Jesus is son of God. I just never could take it there. I kind of rejected that idea. So I just kind of said I'm more agnostic, and that's my belief that I just don't know, and I'll continue to search. And that kind of broke their heart too, and I just kind of seen that rigidness of that party and how they were starting to bring in some of those Christian ideals into the party, and how that was kind of becoming their identity, and I always kind of separated from that. But anyway, I grew up in Indiana, and then I was in the Air Force for 8 years. I did POL fuels, where we filled up planes on the ground, not in the air, just on the ground. During some of that time, I worked at Menards, where I worked my way up. Menards is like a home improvement center. In the Midwest, and I worked my way up to becoming an executive at Menards and running the cabinets and appliance department for the entire corporation. And I moved my family to Wisconsin. We lived in Wisconsin for ten years and did that. And then I moved my family down to Florida about 4 years ago, and we landed in Florida just to be closer kind of to my parents, and my kids to be closer to their grandparents and everything like that. So, but I've never really been political. I've been kind of paying attention ever since Donald Trump's been involved. Never really political until Trump 2.0 kicked off, and that really sparked something in me.
And I remember you said on, I see this both on your website, especially your social media, that January 6th was really your breaking point where you said you had to speak out. And I feel well, of course, January 6th disturbed me deeply as well. And what also disturbed me is that that should have been everyone's breaking point, and
Yeah.
it was not. So, what was, January 6th was your breaking point. What were you thinking as you were watching all that horror unfold?
You know, that was probably like my breaking point with you know um, the MAGA movement. I was never part of it, but it was kind of my breaking point. Like, you guys have lost your freaking mind, right?
Right.
And I remember sitting in the office. I was in Wisconsin, and I remember sitting in the office and just kind of looking at my phone, like, "Are you guys nuts, man? You guys have
Mhm.
lost your freaking minds." And I'm looking around, and some people are cheering it on, and I'm like, "Wow, how did we get here?" Um, but really, my true breaking point of why I got charged up to go into politics right now was Trump 2.0, and how he became back into office after he was a known felon, he was a known crook and criminal and sexual assault and uh,
Mhm.
everything underneath the sun, and we still put this man back in office, and he's going after people, and he has a hit list, and he's not going to govern, he's just going to be vengeful.
Exactly.
And but the moment that I can tell you this specific moment was when Donald Trump and Zelensky were inside the Oval Office, the very first meeting that
Mm.
and they were like making fun of Zelensky for not wearing a suit, and it was sad. It was sad. They were picking on him, and you could tell that the whole like shift in that office turned against him immediately, almost overnight. And all of a sudden, he was the villain, even though he was the one that is protecting democracy against one
Right.
of our biggest enemies that we've ever had in Putin. So like it just broke me, right? So that was where I saw like the sickness was completely unleashed without control inside the Oval Office.
Oh, that was, I was sick as well. I was embarrassed. I know this won't get to President Zelensky, but it was important to speak out and say, President Zelensky, I'm sorry. Behalf of this country, I'm sorry. It was just like you said, it was important to speak out, and just all the same, just hopefully it, and if even though he doesn't see it, hopefully it would encourage others to just say, hey, I'm sorry, this is embarrassing, because like you said, he is a leader. He is actually a leader for democracy. He is the one who's standing up against the enemy, Putin. And while Trump and JD Vance are, let's be honest, kissing his ass. Let's be real. And so, like you said, complete embarrassment, shameful. And so, when was it? Was it that the time you decided I want to run for politics, make a run for it for politics?
So I would say that's kind of the time where I just got activated
Mhm.
online, and I've never had a social media account before I started selling health insurance a couple of years ago. So like I have no social media history up until a couple of years ago. Uh,
Mhm.
but with my health insurance business, it created a Threads account. Okay, so if you're not familiar, because it was through Instagram or whatever,
Mhm.
and it creates a Threads account. If you're not familiar with Threads, it's like the Twitter of Facebook. It's like the Twitter version of Facebook. Um, but um, but anyway, I just started like speaking out online, just typing off like, "Hey, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Why is he doing this with the stock market? Why is he doing with this with Ukraine?" And really, the reason that I was speaking out was simply because I thought I was the only person in the middle of red Florida that was noticing what was going on, and I wanted to know if there was like friendly faces out there to talk to. You know what I mean? Like, just to know that there was still a pulse out there, that everybody turned into fucking, excuse me,
Oh no, it's okay.
okay, did everybody turn into zombies overnight? You know, like, and but anyway, my post started picking up traction. I within a month or two, I had 5,000 followers, and I was like, okay, people are listening. People are okay now, and I kept pushing it, right? Like guys, we need to start getting angry. We need to start picking this up because they're going to start doing this and they're going to start doing that. And you know, things were happening that I was saying, and we started getting people energized. And then all of a sudden, I got like 50,000 followers in like 3 months, and so anyway, but during that time, uh, I the Ron DeSantis, he is the governor of Florida, right? And he was at a press briefing or a news conference here in Bradenton, Florida, which is about 10 miles away from my house. And I just happened to be in the building at the time, and I got into the room where he was giving the press briefing. Okay. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking behind me, and there's like big cameras that have like NBC and CBS and all that stuff. And he starts speaking. And so I interrupt him as he's speaking. And I said, Alligator Alcatraz, is that your effing legacy? You bow down to an effing pedophile? Are you an effing pedophile? And then, I just went off and I flipped off the room and I left, or I got escorted out by the cops. But that went viral. It went everywhere. Like it
I
went,
love it.
yeah. And so right after that, I was like, I'm running for Congress. Screw it. I was like, I don't see anybody out there that is a candidate that I want to vote for, right? Like nobody is as fired up as I am. Nobody can see through the bullshit like I can see. Nobody is communicating with the people like I'm communicating with. Nobody is rallying up a base like I'm rallying up a base. I was like, I will just do it. So I just started running for Congress, and now, we're kicking some butt right now.
Well, I love the fact that you got there and started yelling, is that your legacy, Alligator Alcatraz? Sporting a pedophile. Are you a pedophile? Love that. Love that energy. And the fact that, there's so many people, that I've interacted with who are in politics who are like, okay, let's, keep the peace. No, no, screw that.
Mhm.
There's that. I prefer to go by the saying, if you go low, I go to hell. No more, I go high. I go to hell. Just done playing nice because we tried that for too long and look where that got us. So, like I said, we go to hell now. Just go lower because, like I said, playing nice just got us in this mess. So, again, I am here for that energy, especially when it comes to people such as Ron DeSantis and our own governor, Kay Ivey. So, as I said before the interview, I definitely feel your pain with that uh, leadership or lack thereof. And
Yeah.
speaking of Ron DeSantis, something that, again, feel your pain about the executions they do, just non-stop. And
Yeah.
so I've been, contacting different governors, especially our own, just asking them, okay, can you just commute the sentence? Because I'm not saying, people who do wrong shouldn't be punished. I just, me personally, I'm against the death penalty for many reasons, not a deterrent, uh, more of a burden on the taxpayers than life in prison. I wanted to know your thoughts on Ron DeSantis and just how he does these executions just one after the other.
Yeah, it's so I'm trying to remember Donald Trump, and you probably know this better than I do, but I think it was at the end of Donald Trump's last term,
The
or his
13
first.
executions, yeah.
Yes, he just like rushed him through, right?
Yes. Oh,
And
yeah, I remember that vividly. That was horrifying.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah,
And yeah, and it was I was pointing it out. I'm against the death penalty. But I was pointing it out too. Uh, that like this guy just mass murdered 13 people, and and before that it was like single digit. Like nobody had carried out a federal death penalty for X amount of years. I forget what it was.
it's true. It had been oh gosh, been a while.
Yeah, that was so bizarre, but yeah, it just kind of falls in line to all these groups are just intermixed with each other, and with
Yeah,
Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis and Lindsey Graham and all these people are just in that same web of nastiness, and yeah, it's just crazy. No, the death penalty. I mean, I've always been blunt with people about my opinion. I think it's wrong. You don't steal from. I'm back to that old adage that you don't steal from somebody that steals from you. You don't slap somebody that slaps you. It's just like it's not the eye for the eye thing doesn't necessarily work, right?
right.
And it's not infallible, right? And it's wrong a lot of times. And then we also have different laws that change and evolve over times, so um it's too.
And the 13th person that Trump executed, Justin Higgs, didn't do it. He didn't kill anyone. He was wrongfully convicted, and that happens so often. Wrongful convictions.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
innocent people who die. Yeah, that's very common. And Justin Higgs, that one still has left a mark. Yeah,
Really, I didn't know that. I looked that up.
yeah. That was
Hmm.
the last one of the 13 executions, and yeah, he didn't do it, and that one still hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all horrible. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah. Yeah. Sickening. And then it just kind of turns you to like what type of people are these? Why
yeah,
are they like why are they getting off on this? Are they, why are they so violent? Why is this group getting off on this violence and seeing people suffer? I don't get it, you
no,
know?
me either. And since Alligator Alcatraz, like, immediately when I first heard about that, I'm like, that's a concentration camp. Uh, Plain and simple. And I know you've spoken out against ICE on your platform, and so
Mhm.
and you are so right. When I read this on your website, that all when they talk about crime at the border, they've when I say they've exaggerated that. That's being nice.
Yeah.
They greatly so. I've talked about that on live streams with my colleagues at Death Penalty Action. Uh, Crime at the border, just uh, that's something to again make immigrants the bad guy again, just a distraction from the crime that's happening here in this country,
Mhm.
the citizens here. So, do you mind talking more about that and your feelings on ICE abolishing it?
Man, so I could go. I'm currently working on something with somebody in my district,
Hmm?
specifically about this issue, and I want to bring some light to it. But first, I'll talk about a story that went kind of viral. But if you go, it's still live. But if you go to Nazis.us, if you type that into your search browser, it has to be NAZIS.us. It reroutes you to the Homeland Security website. So yeah,
Really?
yeah, and it went viral. Like I'm the one that set it up. I bought it, and inside the meta information or whatever, I knew people were gonna like look to figure out who bought the website. So I put my name and I put my website and I said donate, and then I just got like a bunch of donations. And but
I love it.
it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. But anyway, so my views aren't hidden on ICE. I think ICE is done. I think that name is now toxic.
Mm-hmm.
I think ICE is synonymous with the Gestapo.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what it's going to be thought about, and that's what he was trying to do. And we had actual judges write it in court orders that said that Trump is trying to build his own personal army,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's not a secret. So yeah,
No, no.
that's got to go, and then we got to determine. Then we got to like take another step back and determine like is ICE was it even needed in the first place? Like is putting more military on our streets the answer, and is looking more at the citizens the answer? Because when we just did it and it led to death and destruction and people rioting and it didn't cause any good results and we kicked out good people, like that didn't work. So like, do we
Right.
even need ICE?
And it's there's so many children that have not only been kicked out but have been put in concentration camps.
Mhm.
And people talk about alt-right says, oh, the children that this I prefer to call it pro forced birth than pro life, because yeah, it's pro forced birth. And I'll say to them, okay, well, why aren't you mad at ICE uh being legally allowed to pat children down without their consent? That makes me mad. Well, why aren't you furious about that? And of course they'll dance around it. But
Mhm.
I'll bring up the children concentration camps again. They'll dance around it. But again, that absolutely infuriates me. And but like but these are issues again I've brought up before with the pro force birth people that such as, okay, what about the children who are here that are in the foster care system who don't have
Mhm.
children who don't have a roof over their head, don't have health care? And I know these are things you've also mentioned on your platform. You
Mhm.
are for reproductive rights, and do you mind talking more about that?
Oh no, 100% for rights for all, equal rights for all, women's
Mhm.
rights, everything equally. And if you want me to talk about women rights specifically, that conversation, and it's scary where it's gotten
Yeah.
is between the woman and the doctor, and if there's a husband involved, it's between the woman, the doctor, and the husband, right? And that's where it stops,
Mhm.
right? This is a medical thing, this isn't, and what the right continues to try to do is they blur the line, and we're tired of this. They blur the line between science and religion, right? This is a
Mhm.
medical thing.
Exactly.
This is personal. This is, I mean, then you break it down into unimaginable things, and then you have to like get their attention with like ancestral rape and things. Like come on, guys, stop.
Mhm.
This is a if a mother is going to die because the baby is stillborn, or there's so many different definitions of what a live baby or a dead baby. Come on, this is
Mhm.
a medical procedure between the doctor, the woman, and if they're married, the husband.
Mhm.
Period.
And I corrected somebody recently who was the comments for senator from my state, Dakari, and they were spreading misinformation about late term abortions. And I said, okay, that's only
Mhm.
done under very rare circumstances. There are dire circumstances, such as it's a threat to uh, the mother's life. The baby is already dead. These are again very rare, dire circumstances, and they have to again meet a certain criteria with the doctor. And the baby is wanted at this point when there a late term abortion is necessary. So again, it's very rare, and at that it's under the most extreme circumstances. And by that point, like I said, the
Right.
baby is wanted. The nurse has been picked out, everything.
Yep.
So, uh,
Yeah.
yes, that's misinformation they like to throw around, and I'm sure you've heard that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And now that, um, yeah, it's crazy. And you hear about, oh, they can abort a baby at 9 months. Like,
Oh
no,
gosh,
come on, guys, they're not doing. And
Tommy Tuberville has said stuff like that here. And, oh,
uh,
it drove me crazy.
Oh, it's sad because I mean this is a complicated issue, and this is a real issue that impacts real people. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these people don't. I'm sorry, but they're just not. They're not equipped. They're
Oh
not
no.
equipped mentally. They're not equipped spiritually. They're not equipped personally to handle it. This is between a doctor who is super educated and the mother, and if they're married, the husband. That's it. That's where it
Mhm.
stops, right? I mean, this is a and this is just more examples of them impeding more and more on people's rights. If they're not a white man, then their rights come second to everything.
Exactly. Exactly. And so speaking of equal rights, and this, abortion is healthcare, and healthcare is part of your platform. I saw
Mhm.
on your website Republicans have made like Medicare for all into oh it's scary socialist. No, that's a right. Other countries have free healthcare, and I can say that having a you know I struggled with an eating disorder for 6 years, and my insurance didn't cover, although it covered a therapist who specialized in eating disorders. It didn't cover inpatient or outpatient therapy. Thankfully, my husband could afford a dietitian, but yeah, it didn't cover inpatient or outpatient therapy. However, with Medicare for all, if we had that, would have been fine. So, uh, yeah, it def and that's when, although I've always believed in Medicare for all, that was a personal wake up call for me where I'm like, one shouldn't be able to have to afford to get help, whether it's for an eating disorder or, like say an addiction. You shouldn't have to be able to afford it. That was that's where it hit me personally. So, um, do you mind talking about that some more about, Medicare for all, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, so on my yard sign, my slogan is going to be accountability is first, and we need accountability day one. Accountability, healthcare, and then lower prices. That is my yard sign. Okay. So healthcare is super near and dear to my heart. I've actually been a health insurance agent. I've sold healthcare. I know healthcare inside and out. I know how corrupt it is. I know, how even things started when Reagan kicked off,
Oh gosh.
allowing private companies to rake in an enormous profit, and it used to be a nonprofit type deal. Um,
Mhm.
and now it has massicized into these conglomerates that completely own from A to Z when they should have just been there to file paperwork. That's it. And they made the paperwork more freaking complicated, you
Yep.
know. So we have to get rid of the insurance companies, period.
Yeah.
And so once you just imagine what that means, and I have a whole podcast on my opinion, but like you once you start getting rid of insurance companies, like you get rid of that fat, right? Then you get rid of all the bureaucracy. You get rid of all the back and forth calls. You get rid of all the paperwork. You get rid of all the compliance issues between the local hospitals and community hospitals versus the insurance companies and blah blah blah, PPO, EPO, and blah blah blah. Then you get rid of all that, right? And then they say, so where's that money go, right? That money goes to your freaking health, right?
Mhm.
Instead of you paying the health insurance companies, you're putting that money towards your health. And these health insurance companies rake in billions of dollars, okay? Even the agents, if the really good agents, are just wealthy as hell, right? And
Mhm.
then these CEOs are quadruple
Oh
millionaires.
yeah.
They're just fat in it. And so why are they even there in the first place? Has to be the question, right? Why are we shoving money there? So if you get rid of it, just invest that money right back into your own health. And if everybody does that together, right? Just like we build our roads, just like we have police stations and hospitals and everything like that. If everybody does that together, the healthy and the unhealthy is all on an equal plane, then our rates will actually go down, right? And at the end of the day, we would actually pay less money at the end of the day. That's what would happen. So people don't understand that we would actually save money if we went that route. I don't understand how that could possibly be a negative. I don't get it.
Exactly. And I know, okay, talk about the actual boogeyman. RFK Jr., is like going after,
Mm,
antidepressants, which have been very good for me, and very good for a lot of people. I have my follow accounts where they've talked about how good they've been for them. And I mean, just, oh gosh, the very dangerous misinformation he spread about. I mean, yes, there are people who with autism who need help, like higher support needs, but he was making it again sounded like, oh, it was the biggest burden known to mankind. And my sister is a big advocate, for people with autism, and she's like, I asked her about it later. She's like, I don't want to talk about it. So when it comes to people who are actual dangers to society, like RFK Jr., I have no doubt that the again the dangerous misinformation he spread has you sing red. And when elected, um, what do you plan to do with when it comes to fighting for people with autism, the right to access antidepressants?
oh, so I mean, antidepressants specifically. I've been on them, and they helped me with things throughout my life. I have been, and I've seen people for things, and I think people just need to be open with it. And especially being in the military, I think the military needs to do a better job of allowing their warriors and soldiers to be free and open about mental health. I don't think it should be a stigma.
Exactly.
I think that needs to open up, and I think it should almost be a requirement for soldiers when they get back from any kind of combat zone that they go see a mental health professional so that they don't have a question if they should. That they know that when they get there, they're going to have somewhere to talk to, whether they like it or not. They're going to have somebody to talk to, right?
Mhm.
So that's my feeling on the military, and then trickle that down to the people, and we talk about gun violence, we talk about all this stuff that's going on. It's because we are a very mentally unhealthy country,
Yeah,
and having antidepressants available for mental health period is um, uh,
it's a lifesaver.
a lifesaver. It's a lifesaver, and the countries that embrace it, and they do better off, right? And
Hmm.
the countries that embrace mental health care and all that stuff, and embrace neurodivergence and
Hmm.
understanding that there are different type of people out there, and follow the science and follow the results. It just can't. It has to be more than a YouTube clip in America. People aren't going to want to live here if we keep acting like, people that make stupid YouTube videos are running our government, running our medicine ahead of
Right.
people aren't going to want to live here anymore.
Mhm.
We're turning into a meme. We're turning into a freaking joke.
Yeah.
You know, the world is moving on from that archaic, um, borderline biblical science. No, we are 150% science, right? And that's what's leading the discussion with a lot of these topics, and the world is embracing it. And it's just this small piece in our country, it seems like, that just can't get over that damn hump.
And I'm two things you mentioned, but definitely want to touch on. First of all, mention veterans and making sure they have access to health care. It's something I'm passionate about too. I have family members who work at the VA, and
Mm,
they very much care about the veterans that come in. And uh, what scared them, and same with me, is that this was in Project 2025 plans to shut down the VA. And what are your thoughts on that? Because I have no doubt that you want to do everything possible to protect it.
It's just more madness and sadness, and then these people turn around and ask for. I think the last budget I saw that Donald Trump was asking for the military was 1.5 trillion dollars. For this machine that is just pulverizing countries all over the world right now that we don't want. He just asked for
Right.
$1.5 trillion, and we don't have enough to keep VA hospitals fully staffed. And
Exactly.
what I suggest is, and I don't want to say this blindly, but there is no, and I don't think I am saying this blindly because the U.S. military's never passed like an audit, and I don't want this just to be like, um, just words, but like honestly, as America, we got to look at why are we spending like 10 times more than the next person on our military, right? When we just look what just happened in Iran, like we just ran out of bombs. It's freaking, where's this money going? It's
No,
not.
no, I've said the same thing. Exactly.
We should like where did all that? We're spending damn near $1 trillion a year. Where we should be like, I should have bombs in my backyard, stacked to the freaking sky. Hey Mark, we need a pallet of fucking bombs. Go ship them on UPS. Gotcha. Let's go. But we're running out. Like, where's that money? It's going into the pockets of crooks. Is where it's
Exactly.
going. You know, give that money to the freaking people that fought to defend this country. And when they come
Exactly.
home,
Put it in the VAs. Yes.
put it in the VAs, put it into the people that come home and they're mentally hurt and suffering. We got the highest, I think the last figure was sickening. It was like, what was it, like 13 people commit suicide every fucking day.
Yeah.
That veterans.
Mm-hmm. And we should not, well, we shouldn't have any homeless people, but I was thinking like homeless veterans. No, but so we shouldn't have any. We have more than enough money in this country to house everyone. But I was thinking about veterans. No, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. And then we got 13 fucking veterans dying. I think that's the number every fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
And these and because we don't have the money to support them, right? We don't have the money. We don't have the
Mm-hmm.
money. And those same people fucking turn around and clap for a fucking golden statue that just gets dropped onto one of Donald Trump's golf courses,
Oh
like
gosh.
why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we, this guy is a draft dodging fucking pedophile,
Exactly.
and you can't take care of the military that's come home and to defend the country, and nobody freaking pays attention to him because Donald Trump's too busy fucking tweeting all goddamn day.
Mm-hmm. And
Ugh.
speaking of being a draft dodger, while I'm, not a John McCain fan, there are things about him that I respect, and it's the fact, he's a prisoner. He was a prisoner of war. Donald Trump would not have lasted a minute in his shoes, not a second. And he sat there and said, "Oh, I prefer my heroes who weren't captured," and that infuriated me. Still does, and that should have, again, these Republicans who claim to respect the military, especially one of their colleagues, John McCain, should have infuriated them. Nope, they just bowed down, kissed his feet. And again, like I said, not a fan of his, but that I'll always respect. And that should have infuriated everybody. But no, I'd always be disgusted by, well, everything I'm disgusted by, but that's just one of many.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why he continues to gain support. He's not gaining support. I don't know why he continues to harbor
Have any.
Yeah, at this point, I think last thing I saw, I don't know if it was real, was 25% approval rating.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going in the right direction.
And that's why he's so scared about the midterms. You got the gerrymandering because he knows he's losing support, and that's why he and other Republicans are freaking out.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're getting gerrymandered, or just did.
Oh yeah, same here. And it's going to come for. I know it's happening currently in Virginia, I believe, but it's going to happen unfortunately in every state. And just I know that uh, what I can say is for right now, it's important to call up our representatives, call them every day, email, show up to protest. That's important. And absolutely vote MAGA out, vote for people like you. And
Yes.
and speaking of we become a meme because yes, we have. I was you posted about Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has become of one of those memes. She's uh shameful and embarrassment, and like you said, the only reason why she's speaking out against Trump, it's for herself. You know, she's just looking out for herself, and one of the many things that she's just the plethora of things she's done that's shameful was harassing David Hogg about
Mhm.
surviving a
Yes.
Parkland school shooting in Parkland, and that's again one of many things I will never forget. And the way she harassed him, said the name of the shooter over and over, and she then complained later on. She's like, "Oh, he wouldn't speak to me." Well, I wouldn't have either. I would have done the same thing. I would have ignored her. And so just and recently, there was a mutual of mine that I once respected, but when she was again looking out for herself, speaking out against Trump, this mutual of mine said, "Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene's for the girls," and I said, "No, she's not. It's white
No.
women like you who are falling for this." And I told her, "This is such a disappointment."
Yes.
Eh, Have you seen that as well with people who what these memes like Marjorie Taylor Greene, these Congress people who are just absolute embarrassments, who may say something that is correct. I put correct in air quotes. Who someone you might have respected at one point who will fall for it, and you're like, okay, that's a major disappointment.
Can I jump in here just for a second, Mark, really quick?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't say I necessarily respected Nancy Mace, like literally at all, but Nancy Mace is a prime example of what I mean whenever I say it's performative activism whenever it comes to supporting survivors. Like, right now we see a lot of action with the Epstein survivors. Right now, several of them are down with the oversight Dems that are down in Palm Beach. But at the same time, we keep saying, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files. Congress has the fucking power, and they're only, oh my God, I'm going to pop off here. But
It's okay.
it literally just annoys the shit out of me. Nancy Mace is one of those prime examples, and now she's running for governor. So, I mean, at least she'll be out of the house. But at the same time, it's still performative.
Hmm.
Mhm.
She put on like a really big display. She's like Erica Kirk. It has her emotional support fireworks, and it's just insane to me. But you can't sit here and condemn one without condemning all of them, and you continue to protect the orange tangerine that is in the White House that was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. You
Right.
cannot sit here and condemn Jeffrey Epstein whenever you don't say a damn thing about the president that you guys support.
Mhm.
He knew about it. He covered it up, just like Pamela Joe Bondi, who needs to be investigated by the Florida bar. Whenever
Absolutely.
people submitted complaints to the Florida bar, they said that they cannot investigate a current sitting federal appointee. She's no
Hmm.
longer a federal appointee. She needs to be investigated. She's due to sit before the oversight committee. I believe it's next week. But I just wanted to throw in there that Nancy Mace is the prime example of that, about the performative activism. You cannot
Mhm.
sit here and say that you support survivors. I'm not downplaying what she went through, but survivors do not do that shit. And I say that as a survivor myself.
Hmm.
And I created a movement based around survivors because survivors needed to have a voice during the 2024 election. And Sarah's been working with me and following me ever since. But it's that performative activism that is always the loudest in the room.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
And
Gosh,
you
yes.
cannot sit here and say you support survivors whenever you want to continue throwing them under the bus numerous times because they speak out against your president.
Mhm.
Whenever your president was Jeffrey Epstein's literal best friend and is one of the only people that's mentioned over a million times in the Epstein files. But you want to protect his name, but yet you release the name of countless numbers of survivors.
Yeah,
That's not
I
what
think
that's not what you're supposed to do. That's not the law that was passed damn near unanimously, except for one person. Uh, it's just it's insane to me. So, Mark, my question to you is:
yeah.
whenever it comes to protecting survivors of violence, what we need to address it as a public health crisis, specifically gun violence, needs to be addressed as
Hmm.
a public health crisis. As far as protecting survivors, protecting our voices, what would you do during your time in Congress to protect our voices and the right to come forward, which obviously is not always the easiest thing, nor should it ever be required.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and this is what we're struggling with in Florida specifically, with like the "Don't Say Gay" bill and stuff like that, and they're banning books, and you're seeing it every day. And so something I want to talk about is like a voice right here in Florida specifically. If I can bring it to Florida for just a second. We got a guy that is he's kind of a hippie, okay, and his name is Keegan Quinn, okay, Keegan Quinn, and he's an activist, and he made a bad decision, and maybe not a bad decision, or he made a post, and he said something that was maybe not necessarily uh, PR or like politically correct, and I posted all about it on my website. But he has no weapon. He had no weapons. He had no intent to hurt anybody. He wasn't working with anybody. He had no messages. And this dude is probably less vocal than I am online. And if what he said should have got him arrested, they should be arresting me too. But this just shows that how public the public uh, um, reacts, right? Uh, uh, to certain situations, and in Florida specifically, we have Republican judges and we have Republican state of attorneys that want to make people examples. So they plucked Keegan out and of Riverview, Florida, and they have him locked up in a Tampa jail right now. And he hasn't been able to see his family for 60 days. He hasn't uh, he hasn't been set bail even. He's a nonviolent offender. This is somebody that has no weapons, no guns, no nothing. That may maybe a poor judgment call on some wording. But when they came out and asked him about the wording in his post, he pretty much said that, listen, I'm not saying it's time to get violent. What I'm saying is we need to cool the temperature down in this country to prevent people from getting violent, because that is as we see in history, that's what happens when you have a tyrannical government that is stomping on the people's voices. The people rise up and sometimes it gets violent, and that was the point that he was trying to make. Like, we need to stop this before it gets to that point, right? Nobody wants it there, but that's just what happens sometimes, right? So and I agree with that sentiment. I agree. So anyway, so he's right here in my district, in my neighborhood. His voice is trying to be silenced. They literally picked him up out of his house, put him in jail. His family hasn't been able to see him for 60 days. And it's set at no bail, like he's some evil mastermind criminal. And the dude is literally a pot smoking hippie. I'm telling you, I talked to him the other day in jail. So just wanted to give you an example of something that I do for the people in my district when they don't have a voice, and I prop them up is what I do. And we've been able to, in one short year, amass a movement that is 200,000 people strong right now. We're getting 30 million views a month right now with our messaging, and we are constantly rising people up when we see injustices. So on the trans community, I have many posts and lifting up their spirits about the trans community, and bringing people together. And I want to make it clear in Congress and underneath the progressive umbrella that we accept everybody. I don't care if you're Muslim or gay or trans or whatever, this is a free country. And that's what you signed up for in a free country, that everybody is allowed to live here peacefully. And that's just the deal, baby. And that's what we're gonna do. So there's no getting around that. And everything to the exception of that doesn't even exist in my world. Like it's a non-starter, right? So um, anyway, that's what I do. I find specific instances. I lift people up, communities up. I form massive communities, and we rise up.
You
And
know,
when it comes to survivors in particular, unfortunately, a lot of them, like any mass incarceration is really important to me. And unfortunately, a lot of them uh, get arrested, they get punished, such as like all people who are abused by their partner and they act in self defense often get life in prison. I
Mm.
know of a woman, Deanna Martin, who got life in prison without parole because she acted in self defense against her abusive husband. And would you fight to protect not only survivors but those who have been who are in prison due to self defense against their abusers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't think you're gonna have much pushback there right now, right? Because I think these Epstein files just kind of gave us a glimpse into like what happens behind these closed doors that nobody,
Right.
knew happened. And it's sickening, and it's torture, and these people have been tortured for years, ever since they were kids,
Yeah.
and then when somebody's trying to work out their life and they're getting out of that, and then they get raped and again, and they get pushed back into life, and I mean, we need to start again looking at what is causing this evilness. And a lot of times when you peel back the layers, it's not the little kid that got raped. It's the freaking white fat dude raping her.
Zachary, did you have any thoughts? Any more thoughts on this?
you know, Sarah, thank you first of all for bringing up about survivors being wrongfully incarcerated. Whenever I think about that, I think of April Wilkins out of Oklahoma. That story literally shattered or whatever was left in my heart at that time. Because I say this a lot because, like I said, as a survivor, I feel connected very closely to the Epstein survivors. Not only have I interviewed two of them, I collaborate with them and amplify their voices on social media because, again, the mainstream media is not going to do it. And if they do, it's only because it's a hot moment and it's a hot
Exactly.
topic because we talk a lot about money and politics, but we do not touch on money in media and how it's controlled opposition. And that is what we see all the time. I grew up in the Kansas City metro area. Our news media is, I go back and forth because we have some good moments, we have some negative moments. But I think overall, our KCUR, which is like our NPR affiliate, they do a really good job at covering survivor voices.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it comes down to we need voices like you, Mark, that is not afraid to share the actual truth and it's not watered down, it's not whitewashed like the history that we learn in schools, right? But
Right.
I
Mm.
think I think about like I said about April Wilkins, and she murdered her abuser. Or well, actually no. Allegedly she murdered her abuser, but it's a whole fucked up story that really traumatized. It's kind of like re-traumatization, kind of like secondhand trauma, like sitting
Yeah.
and listening to the story. And I've been doing this advocacy work for close to 16 years, and I still get triggered at moments because it's like, damn, these systems really were not built for people like us that is on this call right now. It's
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
not it's not for us. It was built to harm us.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
that is exactly oftentimes we hear that the system is broken, but how can a system be broken when it's functioning exactly how it was designed?
Exactly.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
that's the thing. It was designed. All of this is by design. ICE and DHS was created out of alleged fear after 9/11. Citizens United in 2010 literally gave corporations and money the right to free speech, which is pure insanity. You see the
Mhm.
APAC influence
Yeah.
and all of the other pro-Israel lobbies that make it look all cute and shit, but in reality, we're arming and funding a genocide. You can't sit here and say that you are pro-life whenever you're pro-bombing children in Iran. I
Hmm.
mean, oh my God.
Well, I mean, I think we just need to find out, what we want as a country. And you're 100% right. And that's what I argued with somebody the other day with on a podcast. It was a Republican, and they were trying to say, "Well, I don't support Trump now, but moving on." I was like, no, 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 no. There's no moving on. Like
Exactly.
like we need to figure it out, buddy. Like, are you fucking racist? Are you still like wanting to kick out all the brown people? Are you still wanting to go to war everywhere? Are you still like on board with all these stupid tariffs? Like, we need to figure that shit out before we just move on, right? Like, we our
And
country.
what a privilege it is to even say, oh, we're going to move on. Yeah, no, those of us
Hmm.
that have been fighting these systems can't
Oh,
just move on. Like fighting the
right,
death penalty, that's not something that you can just move on from.
Right.
right.
That is
We
not something you just move on from. And not to mention the fact people do not understand that their tax dollars are literally going for government sanctioned murder.
right.
I do not care what somebody did. They do not deserve the death penalty because it
Mhm.
actually costs more to execute than it does for somebody to sit in a prison cell for the rest of their life. I'm not saying that every single person is innocent. That's not what I'm saying.
I wrote a paper on this one time,
But
and
it's
I
just
got a
annoying.
I got a smiley face, and I think it was like a sociology class or something. But do you guys remember the movie Minority Report?
Hmm.
Okay, and so Minority Report, they found out beforehand if somebody was going to kill somebody, and it was like 100% foolproof, and it was always accurate, right? And they were able to capture the person before they killed somebody, and then they would throw them in jail, right? And it worked like a charm for years and years and years until one time, right? It comes back and it was inaccurate, and it actually chose the wrong person because they were able to trick the system, and so it killed one person. And so, and or no, it didn't kill. I'm sorry, they threw the wrong person in jail and almost killed the wrong person because of this. So it was infallible. So they shut down all the operations because of that one person, right? And so I was writing a paper about it, and I was like, what? Like, my question is, why did they shut it down? In my opinion, they should have amplified this motherfucker by 100. They should have put it in every goddamn city across the country, because if the fail rate is one in whatever it was, a million, then our fail rate as a country of executing our own people is far higher than that. I would say that's a lot better system than we have. I have no idea why they shut that down. And he gave me like an A plus.
Oh yeah, like when it comes to how many people. Oh God, uh, I'm not sure. The no, they're still not sure of how many people are wrongfully executed, but it's enough to where it's it's not uncommon. In fact, it's common. It's
Right.
across the country. It is very common, and in fact, before Biden had commuted, uh, all but three of the federal death row sentences, there were wrongfully convicted people on federal death row. One of them being Billy Allen. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So there were federal death row. There were more than one person. There's already more than one person who was wrongfully convicted, and like I said, Billy Allen has been there almost 30 years. So um, and like I said, I hear about when it comes to executions, we hear about a new one. It's again, I'm not exaggerating. I say every month I hear about at least one person who has been wrongfully executed, and
Mm.
And
and
I think most recently, Sarah, I think it's important to mention about James Broadnax, who was
I was
actually
just thinking
just
about him.
executed in the state of Texas. Yeah, I had to think there for a second because there's so damn many going on, and we just
Yeah.
got alert about I think it's two more
Yep.
this week.
Hmm.
And but thinking about James Broadnax, he was literally convicted over rap lyrics, and this one is going to stick with me probably for the rest of my life because his wife runs a social media account, and it was Free James Broadnax or Justice for James Broadnax, one of the two. And this story, it destroys me every time I think about it. Every single time that I think about the death penalty, it just destroys me. And being from Missouri, before I moved to the state of Kansas, there was a transgender woman that was executed in the state of Missouri. Her name was Amber McLaughlin, and it literally destroyed me. My partner is transgender, and she's one of the co-founders of the Rise Up Justice movement as well. And she's very active on social media. Sarah, you've met Amelia.
I have.
She adores you, but
Oh, I love her to death as well.
she's definitely something, Mark. She's a really big fan of you. And yes, I
Cool.
mean, I am too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of
Oh, for
fangirling because
sure.
I was like, oh shit, he responded and he's scheduled. And I was like, Sarah, you're gonna have to hop on this one with me. But
I'm
it's
proud
like,
to.
That's cool.
I think overall though, we need to get money out of politics. We need to
Yeah.
abolish ICE. We need to free Palestine, and we need to stop aiding and abetting a genocide. And the genocide doesn't just go into Gaza, right? There's also Sudan. There's also Congo. There's also um, like Lebanon. Like there's so much
Area.
going
Yes, so
on,
many. Yeah.
and it's hard to differentiate. And I think also like in the stage of AI and late stage capitalism, I think it's hard to differentiate what's real and what's not. We have so many of these like AI war videos that are going around on social media
Oh man.
because there is literally no guardrails on AI, and we allow it to. Oh, you have Grok that literally can
Oh
undress
God.
women,
Sickening.
which is
Sickening.
deeply disturbing, which tells us everything we need to know. I'm just going to
And
leave it at
this is just
that.
another it's just another missed opportunity for us. And like I look at AI as like something super cool. Like I look at it as like the freaking F-22 or something new
Mhm.
fighter jet or something, and I'm like checking out this new system, and then you get in there and you realize shit, the freaking billionaires already bought it. They're already pounding us with stupid restrictions. And then you got the government freaking using it on us already. It's like now it's a fucking enemy already. Now I
Yeah.
don't even fucking like it. Like now, like why it could have been our little gift, if that came down the right channels instead of Elon Musk and all these billionaires. If that came down the right channels and came from the people, or if it came from a healthy government, that took control of it, that was actually ran by the people and said, we're going to use that AI to look at us. We're going to look at our own ass. We're going to look at our own officials. We're going to look at our own government. We're going to look at everybody in this Congress every day, and we're going to give you a report of who they voted for and what bills they passed.
Exactly.
Like we could have just said we could have all been just eating popcorn watching this AI show of Legos explaining to us what the Congress is doing all day. What bills they passed and shit. But now we got to rely on them to feed us all this nonsense, and we don't even know what's real anymore. And
Yeah.
nobody gives a shit. No Republican even is attempting to pass any type of legislation. You have Ted Lieu out there. He's trying to pass a legislation against AI and just saying, hey, we have to at least look at it. We have to put some guardrails on it. We have to at least know where it's aimed and why. And should it be aimed at us or should it be aimed at them? So anyway, that's my rant.
We're seeing a lot of these, speaking of AI, and I know we're coming up on time here in just a few minutes, but speaking of AI, we're seeing flock cameras pop up all across the country, and it's a huge concern because, they're not, they're targeting our black and brown communities or immigrant neighbors or, and there was like this whole like thing, new like, oh God, what is it called? There's like a new thing on the White House website that essentially is targeting marginalized communities. If you are they see you as a terrorist, like if you're a transgender or if you're speaking out against the administration, you're going on like this whole list and blah blah blah. And it's like this whole like propaganda bullshit, and that's literally what it is. And because, yeah, I'm going to continue speaking out against a tyrannical government that's trying to erase the existence of my partner and myself being an LGBTQ person myself. Like, you're trying to erase the existence. You already, quote unquote, ban DEI. You can remove words all you want, but you are not going to erase the history of a community that they've already tried to erase us, first of all, and they
Yeah.
miserably failed. But the thing is, LGBTQ people were not a part of the 2020 census because of the first Donald Trump administration. And that is something that literally irritated the shit out of me because it leaves out a whole margin of communities, like people, which
Say
is
that
why
again. Say that again.
which part?
They were who was left out of the census?
So the LGBTQ community was left out of the 2020 census because of the first Donald Trump administration. Removing LGBTQ people out of the census, it only shows that LGBTQ people make up less than 2% of the total population, which is false because we were not included in that census.
Hmm.
It's way higher than that, and I can tell you that because I scroll through social media and all I see is rainbows, which I'm really excited. Don't get me wrong, but it's like this is more than just the 2%. But it
Mhm.
doesn't matter how big that percent is, there's still human beings behind those percentages. That is the thing that we need to recognize that every single person in the quote unquote land of the free, which I
Yes.
was taught that I can be whoever I want to be, wherever I want to be, and love who I want to love. That is what I was taught. My grandmother was
Mhm.
Native American. So she had a lot of those traits, right? And taught about that radical love for people, which is why I fight like hell for people, especially those that are no longer here to fight for themselves.
Mhm.
And we got to continue saying their names. We got to continue advocating for them because we didn't do it enough whenever they were here. That is a systemic failure, and it is literally a policy choice. But I know we're at time. Mark, how can people contribute to your campaign and uplift the work that you are doing? And how can they follow you on social media?
Yeah. Thank you again for having me and good conversation. My website is markdavisforcongress.com. You can donate there. And then all of my social media links are linked right off of markdavisforcongress.com. And we also have a podcast, Dad Bods and Bad Attitudes, where we interview candidates in Florida if you're interested in that. So.
And where are the primaries in Florida?
So the primaries are in August, but I'm running as an NPA, no party affiliate. So we go directly to the general in
Okay,
November.
cool.
Yep. Yep. So we still have quite a bit of time to build, so
All right, great. We'll continue to get the word out.
yep. Yeah.
And then, Sarah, how can people find you on social media as well?
Well, thank you for asking. You can find me. It's Sarah only. That's all one word. ITSSARAHONLY. It's Sarah only. That's on Instagram, Threads, TikTok. You can also find my nonprofit, voicelessbehindbars.org. Again, voicelessbehindbars.org. So that's where you can find me. And I often collaborate with Rise Above Justice Movement. Very thankful to be co-hosting, and I had a blast today. Thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah. Thank you. Me too. Appreciate you having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mhm.